Hey, if you guys are looking to sell your house in 2022 or well into 2023, here are the top 3 things your listing agent should absolutely know, critical to your success. I will see you on the inside. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter what time it is. I hope that you, my friends, are having another amazing day. That was very loud.
That was loud.
With my co-host, Josh Zuniga. Dude, you're an expert at this.
Yes.
Selling houses, hands down. Like one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. That's not a, pat in the back. That's truth.
Oh,
That's truth.
Appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much.
And so, can we both agree on that most real estate agents are not built the same?
Definitely not.
I can't say the R word, but we know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about real estate agents, like what's the number one thing that you should be looking for as a home seller in your agent? Number one.
Negotiation.
Why?
Negotiation skills. Right?
Yes.
And this is very specific even from, especially in today's market, right? Things have switched. Things have changed, and sellers, have gone in a little spiral and they're in a little bit of panic, right? Because they're concerned about their home price. So knowing how to negotiate and knowing how to set up a deal with that other buyer and that buyer's agent, and to make sure that we have, a common understanding of what it's going to take to actually get this deal done, to still make sure that your seller is happy and that your buyer is happy, and we can put this together and go through closing, is going to be the number one most important thing that you can have as a skill, as a real estate agent for your seller.
Hands down. So literally, if you're looking to sell your house, your agent can save you tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially, just in the negotiation process, right? So I'm going to break down a couple different areas. So obviously the price. First thing you always negotiate is price. Mm-hmm. What I like to see as a buyer's agent or even a listing agent is just communication with the other party, right? And so finding out if this is even a deal that we can put together. But as a seller's agent, you should be looking at it and saying, hey, what is the buyer's motivation to get in this property? Are they looking at other properties? Are they well qualified? Are they riding the edge? If a buyer's riding the edge, we have more leverage as a seller, because there's that scarcity mindset in a buyer that is like, wait a minute, maybe I don't qualify for the house. And if a seller's like, hey, look, I know that you're right on the edge, you might not qualify, you might say, hey, look, why don't we bump the price up and I'll give you $5,000 towards closing costs.
Yeah, I've done that several times, very specific. And
Yes.
You were perfect and you hit it on the money, because every listing, especially now, making sure that you have that phone call with that buyer's agent that comes through and say, it's like, what was your feedback? Was your buyer interested? Do they want to put an offer? Where are they at? Do they have to sell a home? Are they coming from out of town? What's their down payment look like? And even talking to the lender. If something is really serious, you need to have that conversation with the lender right away to know exactly where they're at financially. And this is even a good candidate for your seller.
Yes, you brought up a really good point too, because I think that not a lot of agents know this, but if you call the lender, you can extract really important information out of the lender that the other agent's not going to tell you, right? So if the buyer's like, hey, I really need this house because my kid goes to school, in the school next door, in their special needs or in the IEP or whatever the situation is, they have to go to that school, and there's no other inventory in the area. Guess what? You got more leverage as a seller.
Yeah.
So really important to have good agents that really understand how to negotiate. It can save you, or make you, I should say make you. It should make you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars and more, just by having a good negotiator.
Yeah, and it's funny, because you can have that one sentence that can change the game, because it can go to a point to where that buyer's agent is saying, yeah, we're just looking and making consideration, and then you have the different conversation. You get that one little nugget to know, okay, cool, we can work with this, but not to a point to where you over leverage and you try and push on your position, right? At the end of the day, you want to create a sale for your client, right? And for your seller. At the end of the day, you need to figure out what the price, that buyer is willing to pay, and what that price that seller is willing to sell, and making sure that you can find that common ground and figuring out exactly all the terms that you can have, in between.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Communication
is definitely, the number one thing, especially extending expectations is huge, even with your sellers now, setting expectations, because the market has definitely changed. It has definitely shifted, and we are always going to go for, our desired price, but you have to let them know that, hey, this is what buyers are experiencing. This is what it is in the market. This is what the interest rates are. This is what the average comps are going for your area. These are going to be our projections for how much we're going to actually.
Yeah, you're kind of giving away, but what's number 2 on that list?
Marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah.
It's got a lot to do with that, right?
It has a lot to do with everything, man.
Yeah.
So just like within every business, the lifeblood and oxygen of any small business and agent is marketing and advertising, and branding, is associated with that too. So now that, the buyer's market, or it's coming towards more of a buyer's market and there's more inventory, you have to figure out, how are we going to make this property stand out? How are we going to make sure that we have enough eyeballs and enough footsteps into this property to procure the right buyer that we're actually looking for?
100%. So don't just throw it on the MLS.
Don't just throw it on the MLS. You have to
Yes.
get creative with exactly what you're doing, whether you're holding your open houses, whether you're doing some type of ad, for that, whether you're doing some type of email, or whether you're doing some type of blast, or some type of
reverse prospecting. There's so many things you can do.
reverse prospecting. Yes.
So guys, as home sellers, I want you to understand that I'm going to say 90% of agents, 95% of agents, they literally would just take pictures. And by the way, if your agent comes in and takes cell phone pictures, you got the wrong agent.
God.
100%.
Please don't do that, guys.
And so understand that most agents will just take pictures and then write a description and then throw it on the MLS and wait for the showings to happen. Good agents like Josh Zuniga will go out there and be proactively marketing your property digitally and understanding what channels, calling on his network, which is massive, his network of agents saying, hey, look, I've got this property for sale. Do you have any buyers? Doing reverse prospecting, going back through his prospect list to find out who in his buyer pool is also looking for a house like that. Mm-hmm. What investors are looking for properties like that.
I'm glad you said that, yes.
And so he's really, really going the extra mile to be able to sell that house for the maximum and getting the maximum amount of market exposure or marketing for that property. What's number 3?
It's going to be market knowledge.
Market knowledge.
Having a good understanding of what that subdivision is, what that zip code is, what that area is, days on market, how much, what were they listed at? How much on average are they selling at, above, or below, their list price? How much they're selling per price per square foot? How to actually compare the properties. You need to be very attentive to 100%.
So I think one of my biggest pet peeves is when agents just let the seller dictate the sales price because they want that listing. Or what they're going to do is go into the listing presentation, and be wary of sellers. Pay very close attention to this. You're going to need to interview 2 or 3 agents. I want you to interview 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. You're going to find the agent that's going to be on target, right? Who's like, yep, it's going to sell within 10 grand of X. And then you have another agent that's going to come in and say, hey, it's going to sell 50 grand over X. And then you're going to have the other agent going to come in and say, what do you want to list it for, right? And understand the differences between the agents. The agent that's going to overpromise just to get the listing is probably not going to sell that listing because they're weak. They're a weak agent, I'm guessing, right? The agent that is probably going to come in and say, hey, look, I'm going to give you 3 prices. This is the today price if you need to sell this week. Mm-hmm. This is the 30-day price. This is your 90-day plus price. And they're going to give you 3 different options, and we're going to come and negotiate. Again, going back to number 1, we're going to negotiate with the seller an actual offer price. Understanding that the offer price isn't necessarily going to result in whatever the contract price is. We've listed homes in this firm for $1. Do you think they sold for $1? No, not even close, right? It came for true market value. But what it did is it really got a lot of traffic through that house. We marketed the heck out of that. We really were proactive on Facebook and digital marketing and Instagram and YouTube and all the other stuff, and we got some press for it. People hated us, but that's okay because we sold the dang house, right? And we knew exactly within 10 grand what the house would sell for, and it's sold within 10,000 of what we thought it would.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about that story. That's
crazy.
Pretty crazy. Which house was that?
It was a house. Curtis Good was the agent on that, and so it was his own house. He owned it, and so he was willing to take the risk. And so I had brought it up in a training. I said somebody should list a house for $1 and just see what happens. And we blew it up.
Yeah,
killed it.
That's good. And I know, obviously, we go back to like communication and like market knowledge. So going into a listing presentation, your seller is already going to kind of have an idea of what they want to sell their house for, or what the actual neighbors have been selling their house for. And you ask them. I always ask them, it's like, what do you feel your house is valued at? And if sometimes it's actually spot on, perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking too. And then if it's not, then you have to give them the actual data, because this is the data. This is hard facts, tax records of what. These are why they're compared to your property. Just because it's your neighbor doesn't mean it's going to be the same exact price and the same exact house. And there's you can go through like appraisals and adjustments and so on and forth. So you can go into the weeds with it. But the best thing to do if you're an agent or if you're somebody looking to list your house is just make sure to have open, transparent conversation about what the expectations of your house are, how we're going to get the deal done, and then what the expectations are, or is it going to be, in the timely fashion? Because We used to sell houses in days and hours.
You didn't have to be a rocket scientist or a
Yeah, and
marketer.
now it's going to a 30-day average. You know,
No, it's
and
like
trust me,
60
man,
days now.
Now it's going to be 60.
Yeah.
Trust me, depending on where your area is, you need to be very detailed on
Yes.
the types of interviews that you're having. And
Guys,
you just have one. Have
Interview.
two.
Interview agents. At least 2, if not 3 or more. So, cool. Hey, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. Pay the dang fee. Like and subscribe. Share the show. And I cannot wait to see you. Until then, have an amazing day. Take care.